What's happening, my fellow geeks and geekettes? Welcome to a brand new episode of Chris's Custom Collectibles. Now, this is one I am so excited about and I'm so impressed by because it's kind of left me thinking there's not much work to do on this guy, but we're gonna make him look just that little extra bit better. This is the Jakks Pacific BB-8. Look at this guy. How beautiful is this? I originally saw this guy at Oz Comic Con the weekend before and I thought, I'm gonna get him. And I literally did a loop of the floor, came back, and he was gone. I had the shits. I'm not gonna lie, I really had the shits. So I went up to the guy at the vendor and I said, look, do you have any more out the back or you know in boxes? He says, no, but you can buy one online. So I purchased this guy for 148 Australian dollars with $5 for shipping. Now, the reason why he's $148 is because of this, and I think this is just the crowning touch, and I was worried I would have to do some electronics work. Not necessary, because of this. This is honestly the best work I've seen Jakks Pacific put into a figure. I mean, this is beautiful. This is like almost a high-end collector's piece. So basically what I'm thinking is we're gonna detail him because there is a lot of staining and weathering and soiling going on all over the body of BB-8 that you see in the film. Now, as well as that cool little electronic feature, we also have this. So we've got this little panel that opens up here, and out comes his little lighter. How cool is that? So look, I'm not making any promises, but I want to try to attempt to put a little mini jet lighter in here. It probably will be one of those things where you have to manually switch it on, but that's fine. I'd just rather have like an actual flame coming out of there. If I can just get a little mini pilot lighter with the jet flame, just have it in there so it can fold up and down exactly like this dummy lighter, then I reckon that'll make the piece. Now we are gonna be making a base for this guy, so he is gonna be on sort of a podium with a sand desert base. It's only gonna be a tiny thing, so I don't wanna take away for the awesomeness just of this figure. Like, I'm seriously just so blown away with how amazing it is, and for the price too. I mean, he's a big boy. So first things first, I'm gonna get the Model Masters black acrylic wash and do a black wash all over so we can get into all that amazing detail all over the body, and then we're gonna go from there. So with that, let's get to it. Alrighty, it is commentary time, and now it is time to make the base for our little buddy here. So the figure is pretty much done. Like I said, there is not much customizing required, and what we've got here is a cheap little jewelry box that I bought from Bunnings Warehouse. It cost me, I think, $4. This is actually one of the same jewelry boxes I use for the Armored Batman from Jakks Pacific. Now I'm just marking off and just marking the center point So we've got our drill bit here, which has the borer attachment. So we're gonna bore open a hole so BB-8 can slot in place, and we can also slide him around at different angles, and this only took a couple of minutes to do. And there we go, once you're done, we've got ourselves a perfectly centered circle. As you can see, let's give it a test run, and he slots in perfectly balanced. Now, as you see what I'm doing here, I've got water-based clay. Now, if you just take this exact method and replace it with Monster Maker's clay, that is what I did the following day, because I realized that water-based clay was a horrendous idea. Number one, because it wants to dry and crack, and number two, the next step, which involves molding the top of the base with silicon. Silicon does not work well with water-based clay. In fact, it inhibits the curing process of the silicon. So I did remove all the water-based clay, but I pretty much replaced the entire thing and replicated what I'm doing here with Monster Maker's oil-based clay. So what I'm trying to do here is make a mound as if BB-8 is sitting in the sand in the desert, and the weight of him has kind of weighed himself into the sand. And he's made a kind of a groove in the sand, as you can see right there. So I got some Glad wrap, and then I got BB-8 and I smooshed him into the clay. So we have ourselves a perfect mounting point, as you can see right there. And there we go, there is the Monster Maker's clay. It's obviously a different color to the water-based clay. I then made myself a dividing wall with some balsa wood, and then I poured in some pinky seal, which is a part A, part B molding silicon, which is very easy to use. And I think this was cured in about half an hour's time, and I had to use a lot of silicon to mold this piece. I actually had to do 2 batches of the stuff, but I got there in the end. And there we go, our block mold is ready to demold, and I already lifted it off, but just to give you guys an idea, you peel it off pretty much like that. We have ourselves a perfect mold. Now we're gonna get ourselves some super cast, part A, part B, and make a casting of this bad boy. And again, just like the silicon, I had to use a lot of resin for this piece. And again, it's mixed 1:1 by ratio. It's so easy to use. I do it by weight, so I've got the little scales there, and I mixed it up, poured it in, and in about an hour's time, it was time for demolding. And make sure to tap the sides of your mold when you are doing block molds and casting with block molds, so you get all those air bubbles from the bottom to rise to the surface. There we go, you see it's starting to cure and turn white. Okay, it is time to demold. Now I just left the center uncovered because we're obviously going to be boring that out anyway and sanding that part away, because that's where BB-8 has to rest in. And this peeled off pretty easily with the exception of the center, which did have some undercuts, but that is seriously no problem whatsoever. It's just, you know, a bit of a push and a pull, and done. There we go. We've got ourselves a raw casting, people. Now after some sanding, some trimming, we're ready to prime the resin top piece and the wooden base. And this is just some Rust-Oleum grey primer. You don't really have to prime the MDF wood, but I just prefer to anyway. It just helps the paint adhere to it. Now once both pieces were primed, I went in with some rivets around the middle of the base because I want to replicate sort of a rusty spaceship, almost like the Jawa's spaceship from the original trilogy, that type of color scheme, and I wanted some rivets in there to make it a bit more industrial looking. So we're going to lay down some brown spray paint. This is a gloss smooth chocolate from Dulux. And this goes on nice and easy, and this is pretty cheap too. So I didn't want to go with Rust-Oleum for this part because, you know, it's just a cheap paint, so it works pretty much the same. Now once that was done, it's time to go in and create that rust effect in the middle of the base, and I'm just using a burnt sienna and try and dry brush it on. So I don't want too much on the brush. I try and get rid of the excess and very crudely and very quickly wisp it around the surface, and you get some paper towel or some tissue and just wipe off the excess in the middle to make sure to leave some rusted areas around the perimeter. And you'll see in a minute what I mean by that, as I just wipe away the middle section. And as you can see right there, it's around the perimeter where the rust really occurs. Now I'm going to go back in with some white and just mix a bit of that burnt sienna in with that, just so it's not a full white. And then just very lightly, same thing, but this time it's really for the top and bottom of the middle section, as you can see right there. That's what I was concentrating on. Okay, now I've got some dirt from my driveway, some PVA glue. You guys know what's about to happen. This is the exact same process for my first order Stormtrooper from Jakks Pacific for the base. And it's pretty straightforward, guys. This is like kindergarten stuff. Just apply the PVA glue. You'll notice I'm not applying the PVA glue where BB-8 is going to be resting, because when you move him around, I don't want that dried sand affecting the paint job of the bottom of BB-8. And once it's all dried, just wipe away the excess, and there we go, our base is done. I added some sand around the riveted areas just so it's got more of an organic feel to it. Now it's time to replace this plastic lighter, which just slots out like so. We're removing that plastic bolt, and I'm going to use a little mini jet lighter that I got from a tobacconist. And no, I don't smoke, but this was just perfect for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it silver using some Model Masters chrome silver, and it actually does slot perfectly in place on the BB-8 figure. So once the Model Masters silver was all dried, we're good to mount it in place. And to mount it in place, I'm going to be using some aluminium tape, which you can get from Bunnings Warehouse or other hardware stores. And I'm just going to wrap the first section around one side so it is secure. And then I'm going to go in once that is complete and go right around the lighter and the mounting base. Now try and keep in mind that, you want to make it as smooth and neat as possible. And look, it does look kind of crude, and I will admit that, but afterwards I did go in with some black ink just to make it a bit more weathered and fit the rest of the figure. And that's it, guys. It is time to set him up and see how he looks. Fuck, how many does he have? So thanks very much for watching, guys. Like I said at the beginning of this video, the figure itself really required no customizing whatsoever. It was more or less just giving it those washes and those browns to really pick up that amazing detail. And seriously, this is one of the most impressive figures I have ever seen made by Jakks Pacific, or for the price that I paid. It was $140, and you get these amazing electronics and aesthetics as well. Now, just like the Han Solo blaster in terms of revisiting the piece for the actual scope, I would like to eventually revisit the jet lighter here, where you can actually ignite the system and have the flame continuously going until you switch it off instead of having to do that. And as well as that, I wanted to create a base to go with the figure, yet I didn't want to take away from the awesomeness that is this piece. Hope you guys are well, hope you guys are happy. I'm just about to film another Pirate Batman cosplay update. Be silly, be merry, and until next time, geeks, please always remember,